yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. It's the fabulous, incredible, amazing, cultured, dynamic, structured, elastic Clark the Shark show right here on the Clark the Shark radio network, baby. From the golden EIB Sharkraphone, where it's never a mere microphone because Sharky isn't a mere mortal. He's an immortal icon. And today, I'm going to be talking about one of the most iconic, amazing bands that ever existed. These guys were weird back in the 60s. And that's weird considering all the weird music then. They just came busting out in 1966 out of the club scene in LA, playing the Whiskey or wherever, dude, on the Sunset Strip. And, I'm not the world's biggest Doors head. I'll admit that. I know every album, I know every song by these guys completely right here on the Clark the Shark show. I like the Who more. I probably like the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks more. But these guys are definitely like in the top 20 bands, I guess, for Clark the Shark. I don't know. Right here at 1-800-449-8255. You know me, Sharky, when I'm talking about rock bands, the Doors don't really come rocketing straight to the top of my list, but they should. When you really break down this band, and I find them interesting mainly because of Ray Manzarek, the keyboardist. But of course, Robbie Krieger's good on guitar. And there's some quality about the band where they were like ahead of their time. And yet, they sounded in their time, the 60s. And then sometimes they're even like a little dated, like they're falling behind the times or something. Like they really fell in love with that 1960s psychedelic keyboards, sound, and they couldn't get out of it. But, on LA Woman, 1971, there's a couple of songs where they start moving, into the 70s sound. And, LA Woman title track, definitely they start updating their sound. But sadly, we will never know because Jim Morrison died in 1971. And for how great this band was, it's really arrested development because we'll never know what they might have been in 1972, 73, 74, 76 moving forward. I mean, we have those two albums where they attempt to continue as a three-piece without Morrison. And those two albums are really interesting. They get like a bad rap or something, and they, people are like, oh, how dare you try to continue without him? But who knows, with a producer here or a hit song there. Hey, you guys, if Genesis can go on without Peter Gabriel, anything's possible for any band, you guys. I always say that. I mean, who knows? The Beatles could have continued as a three-piece without somebody. I mean, it's possible. It wouldn't have been the same, but I believe any band can soldier on. I mean, The Who, minus Keith Moon, God, I can go down the list. It's happened. It took The Who a long time to get on track and make good music again. Without Keith Moon, even though the two immediate albums Face Dances and It's Hard were interesting albums. Maybe not really good or great or anything like that, but they were maybe not even solid, but they were interesting. And then, of course, later on, much later on, Endless Wire and the self-titled Who, both interesting albums. So it makes me think, what could the Doors have done without Jim Morrison? A lot of bands have soldiered on, you guys, without their main guy or a main guy, or something. It's happened. And sometimes it works and oftentimes it doesn't. But, or who knows, maybe the Doors could have got another singer. I mean, that would have been a blasphemy, like a sacrilege to replace Jim Morrison. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do, people. Now, Jim Morrison had a horrible alcohol problem, drug problem, you name it. This guy had problems galore. And it begins to show on this album, The Soft Parade. You can tell the Doors are getting tired or something, or getting confused as the years are going on. And this album, 1969, is really only about 3 years, or 4. I mean, you could count 1965 into the Doors' existence, and it's a little early to be getting running into problems in the studio. But the Doors are really from 1966. That first album that's so great, Rothschild and all that, that should have said 1966 on it. It was recorded that year, but it says 1967. So today, that January 1967 album goes down in history as part of the Summer of Love and not part of the 1966 garage band scene. And that's kind of a bummer right here on the Clark the Shark Show, because I believe the Doors' first album kind of goes with Arthur Lee in Love and, the Music Machine and the Yardbirds and, I don't know, The Who or something like 1966 or Revolver or, Frank Zappa Freak Out. To me, Clark the Shark, the Doors' first album goes with 1966, not 1967. But oh well, what do I know? Me here, the good old Sharky, yours truly, your humble servant, DJ, MC, whatever I am. Now, me, Clark the Shark, I'm discovering on YouTube, and so are my subscribers, that there are bona fide Sharky imitators out there now. And I trace and date a lot of these to my old Sharky accounts, long ago banned and deleted by YouTube, where I would be on here ranting and much more political years ago, like 10 years ago on my channel. It was like the Sharky Savage show. It still is, but it's a little funnier and more colorful and a little more relatable, and people were like, hey, Shark, you're a musician. Why don't you talk about bands? And I was like, nah, I don't want to be one of those guys reviewing, music, or I have a bunch of CDs behind me or a bunch of vinyl collection behind me. I don't want to be one of those people that's trying to prove I know so much and I'm such a genius. And let's be honest here, you guys, most of these fucking guys on YouTube suck that review records. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not musicians, a lot of them. They haven't lived the music. They haven't had a shitty life. You got to have all these things that are weird, like you're in a simulation, like you're in a crappy matrix. In order to be good at music and to review music, or pretty much to do anything, to know what you're talking about, like Clark the Shark, it just doesn't grow on a fucking tree, you guys. And it takes more than just being merely funny. That's only a quarter of it. You got to have this thing. I can't put my finger on what it is. But me, Clark the Shark, I get fear. I don't really get respect, revere, regard, or people liking me or coming up hugging me. I get this thing where people are scared shitless, where they're like, oh, fuck, what is Sharky going to say? Or what's Sharky going to say about me? Because deep in the recesses in the back of their minds, plural, they know Sharky knows exactly what he's talking about. And there's nothing scarier than like Shark Limbaugh at the mic, or Shark Savage, or, you know, Sharky Hannity. When I'm at the Golden EIB Sharkerphone, I'm going to call you out, everything about you, and it's going to be accurate and true. It will be. And you guys are scared shitless. You're like, fuck, I hope Sharky doesn't talk about me, because he will be telling the truth right here on the Clark the Shark Show at 1-800-449-8255. The fabulous, amazing, unbelievable Shark Show, where today I'm talking about the Soft Parade by The Doors, you guys. This band right here. Now, this album is very interesting to me. Even though so many critics, fans, and a lot of people are like, this is The Doors' worst album. But for some reason, Clark the Shark, I find this to be like their best. You know how I'm kind of weird. I think Led Zeppelin 3 is like their best. You know, The Who, Tommy, is like their best. You know, I'm pretty inconsistent and fucked up like that, you guys. I pick out the weird album. Now, sometimes I'm like everybody else, like the Stones' Beggar's Banquet, or, you know, the Stones' Let It Bleed, I gotta say, are like their best. I mean, I'm left with no choice. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Stones are always, from the beginning of their career right through to today, they're always uneven and inconsistent, and they have trouble in the studio their entire career, the Rolling Stones. I mean, let's face it, you guys. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, they are not John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They're not even The Who, dude, or anything like that. The Stones really struggle, and they throw thousands of songs at the wall, and only a few of them stick. But when you just throw 10,000 songs at the wall, you might get 200 that are really fucking good. And that's what the Rolling Stones do. And that's why so many of their albums either suck or something, or they just have issues and troubles in the studio. And even Exile on Main Street and a bunch of them have problems. Even though that's a great album to me, I actually find Goat's Head Soup and It's Only Rock and Roll even better. But like many people, I'll tell you straight up, right to your face, that Black and Blue sucks. And so does Emotional Rescue, Dirty Work, and Undercover, and blah, blah. And I'll tell you, you know, the ones you know are good, you know, Tattoo You and Some Girls. Sure, you know. I'm not doing it just to be consistent with everyone else. If Sharky says it, I'm telling the truth. Right here at 1-800-449-8255. And right now I'm talking about The Doors, the Soft Parade. 1969. I don't know why I always think of this as 1968, but the Doors weren't around very long, you guys. They played some clubs in 65 and 66, and then they were on the scene from 1967 to 1971, and they were gone. They were like a blip on the radar, like a blink in an eye, like a gleam in an eye. The Doors were gone. They were here and gone very quick. But in their brief little history, sort of like the band Cream, they left a big legacy. They left a thing behind as big as The Who or the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or anybody in just their 4 or 5 years of existence. And a lot of people will say, well, Sharky, those other Doors albums are also good, but the Soft Parade sucks. I disagree, you guys. I don't think so. And I will tell you, show you why here. I don't care what the stars say, you know, the other, it probably could get 3, you know, or bad reviews, or yeah, it gets a 2 from the Encyclopedia of Pop Music. That sucks. That's not right. It gets a 3.5 from All Music. You know, dude, come on. What did Rolling Stone give it? Rolling Stone only gives it a 3 out of 5. But, me, Sharky, I would give this one a solid 4, maybe a 4.5, you guys. I'm serious. And the reason is these songs are great, you guys. Tell All the People, Robbie Krieger. Even though there's something about the song that creeps you out because it's not really a Jim Morrison vibe, it's still such a good song. I like Tell All the People. There's a lot of people that hate that song. But it's confusing and weird for the Doors, but the melody works. It's good, you guys. Track number 1, side 1, Tell All the People. It starts off nice, you guys. Now, of course, Touch Me, awesome. One of the greatest songs in rock and roll history. Again, by Krieger, you guys. What a song with the weird beat and the saxophone and all the orchestration, you know, the score with the horns. And both of these first 2 songs, weird for the Doors, you know, they're scored almost like Phil Spector or like George Martin or something. It's very strange. Now, the next 3 songs on side 1, Shaman's Blues, Do It, and Easy Ride. More, you know, Doorsy sounding stuff. To me, you know, I like side 1 of this, you guys. I can't say that I love it, like I'm just crazy about it, but, you know, come on. Ray Manzarek on keyboards and Robbie Krieger, there's something to be said. He's always good on guitar, and these arrangements are so weird. Touch Me. It's almost like progressive rock. It's like, I mean, just a weird beat. Let's not forget John Densmore, the drummer, a really, really good drummer. Kind of technical, you guys. He knew stuff that Keith Moon didn't know. Keith Moon is better just because he's Keith Moon with The Who, and he, you know, they crank it up to 11 and they just go nuts live, dude. And Robbie Krieger's not on that level. No way. But Robbie Krieger, in his own way, at what he does at Robbie Krieger, sorry, he's awesome, you know, on guitar. But John Densmore, who I'm talking about, his own little way of drumming, he's the best at it. He's the best John Densmore type drummer in the world. Just like Keith Moon always said, I'm the best Keith Moon type drummer. You know, John Densmore of the Doors is the best John Densmore drummer. I love his drumming. And you guys know me, Clark the Shark. I'm a drummer. So I respect it. I revere it. I regard it. I regard John Densmore. He's one of those guys right up there. And I regard and revere and respect side 1 of this Doors album that is so weird and unusual for the Doors. And yet there are some songs here that sound pretty Doorsy. Wild Child, you know, killer, dude. Runnin' Blue, good stuff. But this album here at the end with Wishful Sinful, and of course, track 4, The Soft Parade. These 2 final songs, so interesting to me, Clark the Shark, where the Doors are trying to get weird or something. Now, Wishful Sinful, I love everything about it. You know, it's killer lyrics, interesting little, like, confusing, sad maybe. It irks an emotion or a thoughts or something. But The Soft Parade, the rock opera little song that's trying to be like The Who, a quick one. You know, there were a bunch of bands. After The Who put out that song and The Who sell out, you know, Frank Zappa and all these bands had to be like that, you know, or, you know, the Beach Boys. Everyone had to write a long song or just some weird drawn out thing with a lot of little ideas happening in it. And to me, The Soft Parade, the song, side 2, the final song on this album is like The Doors' Tommy, or like The Doors' A Quick One, or The Doors' Sell Out. It's so awesome. I loved The Soft Parade when I first heard it. I still love it now, you guys. The title track. What a song. Very weird. Breaks into this silly little rock opera, kind of like the Beatles, Abbey Road or something, the medley. The Doors, they have their version of it. There were a lot of bands had to do, a long song that was 8 minutes long back in the 60s. Of course, this got expanded in the 70s with Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Peter Gabriel and Genesis and all that. But the Doors really nail it here with The Soft Parade. Now, a lot of people think this song sucks. They hate this album. They hate that song. But, that is a red flag that maybe they suck. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show at 1-800-449-8255. I love it when bands experiment and they get weird and they try odd, funny shit, or trying to be funny or trying to be quirky. And The Soft Parade, for me, Clark the Shark, is when the Doors get goofy and weird or something. It's so strange. I love this whole album. It's a confusing, schizophrenic album, these songs. But Ray Manzarek and his keyboards really shine, and so does Robbie Krieger. And, of course, Morrison, untrained as a singer, always sounds great. His vocals are awesome. Densmore is awesome on drums. But let me tell you, Jim Morrison, the singer, gets a lot done with no real, he didn't go to a vocal coach or any of that. He's just a natural, you guys, on all these albums. And it's weird, man, how the guy was a genius, a poet, an alcoholic freak, just a nutcase. He wasn't meant to live very long, you guys. 27 was it for that guy. I mean, I can't even think of what he would do after 27 in 1971. But he did indeed pass away. A lot of people think he's not really dead. I want to tell you a story. One time I saw a guy in a white Mustang, sort of like something you would see in a Doors vision or video or something, pulled up to the corner of Hawthorne Boulevard in Torrance. When I was just a kid, I was like 18. I don't remember. And there were two guys in this Mustang. It was like 3 p.m. I think it was the corner of Hawthorne and Sepulveda in Torrance. The driver of the Mustang looked like Ray Manzarek would have looked in like 1983 or something. I was like 18. And the passenger right next to me, I was literally 3 feet from him. And I just looked at him and he looked at me and I said, Jim. I'm not kidding you guys. He had a beard, looked like him, man, with a leather coat, sunglasses. And what really looked like it, though, was the driver looked like Ray Manzarek. The two guys in a Mustang. And the weird thing about this moment, as I was thinking about the Doors, I was on my bike like a Strand Cruiser, 18 years old, coming home from the mall in Torrance. Del Amo. They don't have malls anymore, you guys. They're all getting closed down because fucking, people ransack them or smash them or just these fucking douchebags, dude. A lot of our businesses are getting closed. But this moment, when I look back, I know it wasn't Jim Morrison. I know that wasn't Ray Manzarek. And the white Mustang was just something my brain invented. And who knows, the whole moment I probably just wrote this and I'm writing this whole thing right now. And I wrote you too. But let me tell you, you guys, I saw Jim Morrison in Torrance. And I said, Jim, and he looked at me and just smiled. And then the guy who looked like Ray Manzarek at the steering wheel just put a thumbs up and looked at me and smiled. And then they turned right onto Hawthorne Boulevard and they went north. And I watched the Mustang drive away. I never forgot it, man. And yeah, dude, what a moment. What a moment. And I remember this moment because I was couldn't afford to buy an album that day. I think I may have been riding home from the Rhodium in Torrance, trying to buy vinyls or trying to buy something. I don't remember. But I keep thinking, you know, malls and Walmarts and Targets and jewelry stores, or, you know, so many things are closing down or leaving California, dude, because they're afraid of the high rent and people, you know, black dudes coming in and fucking smashing everything and stealing the jewelry. And now you can't prosecute them or arrest them because, you know, you'll be called a racist or some shit, just some bullshit liberal fucking crap like that. But, you know, it's true, you guys. The rent is high. You know, the rent's $3,500 a month or $2,500 a month right here in November 3, 2023. You can't even get a fucking apartment for $850 anymore, a one bedroom or even a studio. The cheapest fucking apartment now is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It sucks, you guys. Our society being destroyed by the right and the left. The Democrats like to tax it, and the Republicans like to raise it. But me, Clark the Shark, I want them to pass and enact Clark's Law that freezes rent at $1,100 a month all across California. Fuck it, all across the whole United States. Rent can't go above $1,100, man. And if you're stuck in a fucking ARM or a subprime mortgage from 2008, that's your fucking fault. That's your problem, not mine. I need a place to live. And we are all sick of this fucking high rent. And you know, you guys, back in the 60s, dude, you couldn't have had all this creativity and these great albums like The Doors, The Soft Parade, if everyone's worried about paying high rent, you know, if everyone's working at Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, and fucking Albertsons and Ralph's, and dude, everyone's working round the clock, working so hard to pay this rent. They're constantly driving in a car, stuck in traffic. Then they go to a job to work all day for 8 hours, make, you know, they tried to raise the minimum wage. What good is it, dude, if the rent is $3,000 a month? You can't be creative, man. You can't make art if you're always on the freeway. You're always on the boulevards roaming. You don't even have time to check the mountain or the trees or the sunset because you're always stuck in traffic. You're always trying to make ends meet. You're a fucking slave to money, and then you die. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, you guys, because this is the Wolfman Jack on crack. The number one guy on YouTube. Fuck it. Number one guy on Vimeo. Number one guy on planet Earth, because I'm not here to make you laugh. I'm here to talk about great music like The Doors, The Soft Parade, unusual, twisted, weird, oddity, crazy, strange albums. This is like their Frank Zappa album, you guys, I swear. It is bizarre, and I love it that way. When things are ordinary, you know, The Doors are never ordinary, you guys. These guys are always psychedelic and bluesy and weird, but on this album, they get even weirder, and I love it. Right here on the Sharky Show, I want you to buy this album, you guys. If you're 23 years old right now and you were born in 2000, I want you to go buy The Doors, The Soft Parade first, instead of their first album, instead of Strange Days or Waiting for the Sun or Morrison Hotel or LA Woman or Absolutely Live or any of that, dude. Fuck that. buy The Doors, The Soft Parade, and learn about what happened to this band when they went weird and they got strange. Because people are strange when you're a Sharky. Things are uneven here with the Shark. I want you to buy this album, you guys, at iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. Now, I bought this album way back. Me and this guy, this kid named Tom Carmody, the brother of red-haired Rick Carmody, the bassist from the Greenhouse Effect. I would hang out with the guy Tom a lot, and he would listen to The Doors pretty religiously way back in the day. We would we would ride our bikes, our Strand Cruisers from Torrance and Redondo Beach all the way down to Venice, way down there, and we would think about Jim and Pam and The Doors and Ray and Robbie and John. And this great music, all these great albums. These guys had to do it quick. It's almost like they knew Jim was going to die, and they better get as many pictures and albums and concerts in as they can, because they knew it wasn't going to last, and it didn't. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, where you just got the only review of this amazing album, The Doors, The Soft Parade, you guys. What an album. I love this thing. I don't know why people don't like it. Bands try to do different things. You can't go wrong back in the 60s. And that isn't why I want you to buy this album. I like it when people buy that weird album that a band does. I don't mean like the Stones' Emotional Rescue or Black and Blue. When the Stones try to experiment, it usually goes bad. Fuck it, it always goes bad. But when the Who and the Doors experiment, it usually goes really good. Right here on this album, it certainly does. And you just got the only review that you will ever need of this eclectic, weird album. And really, let's be perfectly frank and earnest and honest here, you guys. You're getting the only review of this album that you will ever want right here on the Clark the Shark Show at 1-800-449-8255 from the golden fabulous EIB Sharker phone, the Wolfman Jack on crack. That's right, Sharky, the Sharkadoodle-Doo, the king of them all. And remember my guarantee, if you're not 100% fucking satisfied with the Clark the Shark Show and my humor, wit, poetry, irreverence, I swear to God, you guys, my 100% guarantee to you, I'm going to give you 141% of your Sharky back. No questions asked, no strings attached. Right here on the Shark Show, you guys, I'm out of here. Buy this album and buy it tonight. Peace.